Zadok, is this a joke? What do you mean I attacked her? Ithra spoke immediately, causing Solel to shrink. Fix your tone, Ithra, I warned, not enjoying the sight of Solel looking scared of her. She is lying, she pointed at Solel. Why would you lie against me? Enough, I muttered, already feeling a headache. Why on earth would I charge at a wolf in such a public place? I might be anything, but I'm not stupid to curse you out in the face of your people, Zadok. The entire room got 3 times hotter than normal. I knew she didn't just address me by my name, and that in front of my subjects. Enough. I hit the handle of my throne, causing a reverberating sound to fill the air. Henceforth, you only talk when you are spoken to. And this is the last time you utter my name with such disregard. Am I clear? Silence. Oh, this witch wanted to test me. Kyr was at the brink of my skin, ready to take over at the slightest provocation. Yes, Alpha, she finally said, breathing heavily. Solel, tell me everything and leave nothing out, I commanded. Yes, Alpha. She proceeded to tell me what transpired, detailing how Ithra had bullied her into doing the entire job of the day, and when it was time to receive the wages, couldn't shut up with terrible remarks about me, of which Morgan attempted to shut her up, but ended up getting attacked with knives and placed in a near-death condition. By the time she was done, I was a lot more angrier than I thought I'd be. She's lying. Don't listen to her. I did no such thing. Shut up. That was Azrael. Are you calling the entire Blood Moon pack liars because the story is the same everywhere? I looked at Azrael and I could tell he was serious. His seriousness meant only one thing. Ithra had blatantly lied to my face. I got up on my feet. I already warned you about the repercussions of lying to my face. Are you really going to believe them? I said I didn't do it. They are all deceiving you, and you are stupidly fall. Her words ceased as my hands wrapped around her neck in a tight grip. A few seconds later, she was struggling to breathe, and her face matched her red hair. How dare you speak in my presence? I spoke into her ears, tightening my grip just enough for her to see the stars, but not enough to drive her unconscious. Alpha, Azrael spoke. I could hear his words. He wanted me to let her go. Didn't you hear her lie to me? She is now a member of this pack, and I need to teach her certain lessons if she is going to be useful. Her face paled, and my hands slackened in shock. I could feel my wolf's anger at me, but I couldn't tell if it was because I let her go or I held her in the first place. Not ready to dig into the darkness of my mind, I got up and returned to my throne, leaving Ithra unconscious on the floor. Only then did I realize that Solel was still in the room and had witnessed all of that. You may leave. I snapped at her, and she made her way out of the room. To Azrael, I ordered, take her out of here and back to her cells. I saw him hesitate, but he knew better than to cross me. In seconds, the guards come rushing in, and one of them picks her up and hangs her over his shoulder. Her gown rides up, and I spot faint scars on her thighs, one I'd never seen before. Stop, I ordered, and without a word made my way towards her, carefully analyzing the scars till I couldn't for fear of being called a pervert. What happened to her? My voice is dangerously low. What are these scars? Everyone looked blank. I turned to Azrael, and he had no answer for me either. I traced the marks and knew something was off. When I ask questions, I expect answers. I growled, hating the silence that enveloped us. 1 minute, and still nothing. Drop her. My jaws flexed as they laid her on the floor, looking confused. I checked her pulse to ensure she was still breathing and picked her up bridal style. Notify the pack doctor. I'll be with him shortly. With that, I walked out of my throne room, leaving them with a slack jaw while I proceeded to do what I had to do. I watched the pack doctor connect an IV to an unconscious Ithra as she carefully analyzed her body. What happened to her? I asked, brimming with anger. It seemed like no one was willing to answer me, and it got on my nerves. The doctor raised a finger, silently requesting for more time as she analyzed the scars that burned deep into her skin. I've not seen this in a while, she muttered underneath her breath. My voice rose. I am not a patient wolf, doctor. Tell me what's going on, or... She will be fine. Her body is fatigued and in dire need of nutrients. Enough food and proper rest will help her recuperate. I held back from the morbid thoughts to kill this woman and get another pack doctor. I wasn't stupid. Of course, I knew she was in need of proper rest and food. Those scars were my problem. My heart was convinced she didn't have those at the time she was captured, and I was very certain I didn't do that to her, which leaves a huge blank spot in the story of how she got such terrible scars hidden in the delicate parts of her body. And the scars? Is there something you can tell me about those scars? I ticked, losing patience by the second. The doctor took another long look at the scars and another long look at me. I'm afraid this is as a result of the witch's bane, she says slowly, scared of my reaction. What do you mean? This witch has been tortured, and it appears it's recent, using the witch's bane. I couldn't express the pain and anger that filled me. I could hear the accusations in the doctor's tone. They thought I did that, and I couldn't blame them. The witch's bane was a weapon found only in the Blood Moon pack, which is my pack, making me realize something that changed the dynamics of things. I never ordered anything of the sorts, but someone did, and right under my nose, Zadok. My powerful fists collided with the table and it broke in two. I handed her over to you, Azrael. How could you let that happen? My eyes were bloodshot red. The scars on Ithra's body reappeared in my mind, and I felt the urge to slit the throat of whoever did such wickedness under my nose. Azrael fell to his knees. I am sorry, Alpha. I will get to the... You have 2 seconds to tell me what happened, Azrael. I cut him off. Who did that to her? I saw him hesitate, and it made me furious. He knew what happened, and I wanted to know. Alpha, I want an explanation, and so help me God, if you don't give me one, I will go to the depths of hell to find out what happened, and I will take you with me. Knocks came from the door, and I shouted, Get out! Nobody comes in. My blood ticked as I paced around, trying to get my mind together. Azrael could feel it. He always knew when I was on the edge of losing my mind and giving in to my intrusive thoughts. Alpha, your potion. I want answers, Azrael. My voice was cold. This is the last time I'll ask. Kier was itching to come out. I was barely holding him back because I didn't know what his wolf brains planned on doing in this situation. Ever since the extermination, my mind and that of Kier was separated. We never seemed to agree on anything other than when it came to killing the bloody witches and rogues that threatened our existence. Recently, that wasn't the case. We seemed to be at the opposite ends with matters surrounding Ithra, and I didn't know what to make of that. I didn't know if he wanted to kill her or stop me from killing her. There was only one way to find out, and for some reason, I couldn't take that risk. Not with her. Since you don't have answers, our meeting here is done. I walked around the broken table, ready to make my findings when his voice stopped me. It was Athaliah. I turned around and our eyes connected. What do you mean? What has Athaliah got to do with this? I asked, unable to wrap my head around what he was saying. When we first found her, you ordered for her to be put in prison. He bowed his head. I only found out later on that she was tortured. Tortured? On whose orders? By who? My arms were itching to kill the person who thought it right to hurt Ithra. I was the only one permitted to touch her. Who gave them the right to touch what was mine? Athaliah. For the first time ever, my urge to kill overpowered my wolf's killer instinct. All I felt was the need to put an end to her existence, to them both. An unmistakable sense of betrayal hit me and my breathing changed. Why will she do that? Why would she hurt her knowing what she meant to me and to this pack? I was growing insane as I walked back to Azrael, who was kneeling in front of me. At the time, she wasn't aware. She didn't know who. I shut him up with a punch that sent him to the floor. Excuses. All I hear is excuses. I sneered and kicked him with every word. I placed her under your custody, and you let her get abused. I apologize. I never thought she would go as far as using the witch's bane on her. I take full responsibility for my negligence and will accept any punishment you see fit. Azrael said, coughing up blood. Get Athaliah in here, I ordered, and went towards the window for some air. Within a few minutes, the doors open, and Athaliah walks in. 2 steps inside, and she fell to her knees. Apparently, she's been briefed. Alpha, she said with her head bowed. Get up, Athaliah, I said with a cynic smile, and she shook her head. I dare not. I have failed you, and I apologize for my actions. I will accept any repercussions you deem necessary. Tell me, Athaliah, I walked towards her, circling her like a prey. What did you do to warrant repercussions from me? She swallowed, not expecting such a question or calmness on my end. I just called for you, and you immediately went on your knees, pleading for forgiveness. I wonder what you did that could warrant my being angry with you. My tone reeked of sarcasm. So much I fought the urge to roll my eyes at the ridiculousness of it all. I didn't realize she was the chosen one. I tortured her thinking she was a witch that dared to cross our hallowed territory. I apologize for my ignorance. She breathed with her head bowed. I now realize the repercussions for my actions, and I solely take responsibility. Bravo, I clapped. What a moving speech right there. I turned to Azrael. You still somehow found the time to inform her of the situation? Where was your competence when Ysera was getting tortured? Why wasn't I informed with this level of timeliness? I sneered. Azrael bowed his head. He knew better than to say anything. It would only put me in a terrible mood. I turned to Athaliah. You said you were willing to take any repercussions for your actions? She gave an affirmative nod. Good. However, I won't be deciding that. The one whom you have hurt will be deciding your punishment. Her eyes almost came out of their sockets. What? She stuttered. It's only fair that Ysera decides your punishment, seeing she was the one wronged. Don't you think so? I said, daring her to defy me. Why yes, Alpha. Thought so. I turned to Azrael. You have one job. Find out what truly happened in the kitchen. I'll make my findings too, and God help you, I find something different than you did. I smirked, promising a world of pain. You have 12 hours. Ysera. I need water. That was the only thing I could think of as my eyes fluttered open. I felt like I hadn't drank water for 1,000 years. My eyes adjusted to my surroundings, and I couldn't tell where I was. White light, white covers, soft mattress, but no water. I need to find water. I forced myself up the bed, scanning the room for any transparent liquid that could quench my parched throat. Instead, I feel a prickly pain in my wrist. An IV drip was placed on my hand, hindering my free movement. I tried to remember how I got here, but came up blank. The last thing I remembered was pledging my life to Zadok. With that opened up memories that flooded my consciousness. I was set up, and then strangled. My hands instinctively go around my neck, and immediately the doors open. Zadok walks in, and our eyes connect. A paralyzing chill spreads through my body as I remember how he tried to kill me. He put me in this condition. I disconnected the IV drip on my wrist and prepared to flee when he raised his hands in surrender. Calm down. I mean no harm. His voice was soft and soothing. For some reason, I felt secure, like he wouldn't hurt me, like he was incapable of hurting me. The memory of him strangling me flashes before my eyes, and I wasn't sure anymore. He had tried to kill me, and not once. I was just lucky to be alive. I want to go. My voice was shaky and parched. Zadok looked around and muttered a silent shit before returning to me. I promise I will not hurt you. His voice sounds pained, as though it hurts him that I thought he could hurt me. The door opens again, and a female walks in with a tray of water. Finally, I thought, counting the seconds till she got to me. I took the water without precaution. Even if it was poisoned, the results would be the same. I'll either die of thirst or from the poison in this water. At least I got to choose my poison. After dropping the second glass, I feel more alive. How do you feel? The lady with a white coat says with a smile. I contemplate talking to her for a few seconds before I speak. Better. It seemed like she expected more, but I wasn't planning on saying anything more. She quickly realized that and continued. My name is Aurora. I am the pack doctor, she explained, holding up a friendly smile. Do you feel pain anywhere? Anything out of the ordinary? I shook my head. I felt fine. Too fine, even. Good. She took some notes on her pad, then turned to Zadok, who all quiet seemed to occupy the room with his presence. She's good to go. Proper rest and proper care will leave her good as new. And the other thing? He asked, and I couldn't help but notice his ticking jaws. Good as new. The doctor replied, and I wondered what they were talking about. It was uncomfortable knowing they were talking about me, like I wasn't in the room. I'll be on my way, Alpha. Contact me if there's anything else. She said with a bow, then turned to me. See you around, Ysera. Her smile made me almost as uncomfortable as my name on her lips. The doctor left, and the room felt 2 times smaller with Zadok stationed by the walls, watching me like a hawk. I am sorry. My head swerves to the side, not sure I heard him right. What? I promise I will never hurt you. Please forgive my foolishness this once. He sounded broken. My eyes narrowed in wonder. What happened to my big bad alpha? Is this because you strangled me? I asked in a firm tone. A brief pause, that and many others. Now I was getting entertained. Care to enlighten me, Alpha? Zadok rolled his eyes at my sarcastic use of his title. Unfortunately for him, he was not done groveling, so he couldn't do much. I am sorry for everything, for not believing you and letting them. He clenched his teeth. I promise to make everyone who thought to lay their hands on you or lie against you pay dearly for it. Does that include you? I don't know what came over me, but I was pushing it, and to my greatest surprise, he was humoring me. Yes, Amor, that includes me. You're a part of my pack now, and no one, not even me, holds the right to do you wrong. That shut me up fast. The intensity of his gaze brought sweet chills down my spine. And his voice? What in the world? I assure that no one who thought to make a fool of me will be left alone. Every single one that thought to defy me or my orders will pay. I swear on my honor. I adjusted on my bed, having nothing to say to that. I could feel anger roll off him in waves, and I honestly felt bad for whoever would be at the receiving end of that anger. Have your rest. Gatria will be here in a second to take you home. His eyes rummaged through my frame. I'll see you at dinner. Did he just call this prison home? I scoffed. If only he knew. As soon as he left, the door opened again, and I fought the urge to roll my eyes. I couldn't catch a breather around here. Good to see you're still alive, Gatria said with a smirk. It takes more than a measly alpha to get rid of me. I fired back, suddenly feeling bold. Tut tut. She hushed. Werewolves have heightened hearing, more so for an alpha, which, by the way, is not quite far from us. I slapped my palm on my mouth at the implication of her statement. Surely he didn't hear me. Or did he? Ysera. I sat across from Zadok with a bored look on my face. I didn't know why I needed to have dinner with him. My room was more than fine, and I honestly could do without seeing his face. For some reason, he demanded that I eat with him. With what happened the last time I came here, I wasn't ecstatic to be in any more dinners with him, but apparently, my opinion didn't count. Our table was layered with all sorts of food, meatballs, pies, soup, every single food found in Mother Earth. At this rate, it seemed we were having others join us because this couldn't be just for both of us. The maids set up the table and left us to our devices. I waited for some time, expecting guests to join us, but Zadok dug into his food, surprising me. I watched in fascination as he tore into a chicken. He looked good. His canines were sharp and pointy. I couldn't believe I just thought he was good-looking. Doesn't meet your taste? He broke the silence after taking a sip of water. I could order a fresh new set of meals. Anything you prefer? He asked. If I wasn't surprised before, I am now. Don't you have guests? People who are supposed to join us? I managed to say, unable to believe this feast was for us. I do. She's seated in front of me, refusing to eat. His eyes conveyed his command. He wanted me to eat. I picked up my spoon and a plate of soup. I thought we were having others join us. I said, taking a spoonful of my soup. My taste buds came alive, leaving me wanting more, and so I continued. Eventually, he said without sparing me a glance. His tone held a promise. I wondered what went up his sick mind. I continued eating in silence, and my mind went back to the thought of visiting the dark forest. Ever since I woke up, I had this nagging feeling at the back of my mind, pushing me to go back to the farm, back to that greenhouse, to find that book. If there was anything that could help me figure out a way to the dark forest, it had to be in that book. I found myself wishing for another dream with the enchantress. I felt out of touch. I needed something to keep me busy, or better still, something to make me stronger. A penny for your thoughts. Zadok interrupts my thoughts, and I let out an inconsistent shrug. How do you tell your captor that you are looking for a way out of his hold? Nothing much, just wondering what the future holds. I managed to say, refusing to meet his eyes. We have no control of what we will be, Ysera. No one, no matter how powerful, has such power. I looked up, wondering where he was going with this. However, we have control of the present. We may not have control of what happened in the past or what the future holds, but rest assured you are in charge of your present. I didn't know what he was alluding to, but something told me I would understand with time. The doors flew open, and the leftovers and plates were cleaned up by the maids. I felt full and ready to retire for the night. I got up. Thank you for. I was interrupted by the door opening. 4 people walked into the room. 4 people I recognized. Azriel, Athaliah, Morgan, and Solel. The later 3 got on their knees the moment they came in, while Azriel stood behind them with his arms crossed behind him. "Are you feeling tired, Miyamura?" Zadok said with a smile that unsettled me. "We were just getting to the good part. Have your seat." I knew better than to refute his orders. Zadok was weirdly out of character today, and honestly, I prefer when he was all big bad alpha than this sweet and cunning show he was putting on. He was angry, that was obvious from the get-go, but to what extent, it was unclear. I sat down, then focused my gaze on the women who were kneeling in front of us. I could hear the faint sobs from Solel, which was silenced by one look from Zadok. "You see, my dear, the people before you are the ones who thought it wise to make a fool out of me," Zadok announced as he got on his feet, introducing them like I didn't know who they were. Athaliah, my trusted third in command, in unity with Azriel over there, decided to take laws into their hands and torture you without my consent. Azriel dropped to his knees while I fought the painful memories Zadok's words produced. I suddenly felt weak, unable to defend myself and under their mercy all over again. "While Morgan here tried to kill you," he laughed. "Again, without my consent. You know the funniest part of it? After failing woefully and ending up close to death, she decided to play the victim and have everyone testify to her favor." Morgan broke into tears, but Zadok wasn't moved. He continued with Solel. "And Solel here lied to my face when I asked her for nothing but the truth. Not only did she lie, but she also put your life at risk." Solel's sobs were once again audible. Compared to the other ladies, she shook with fear as tears flowed down her eyes like a river. "So here's the catch. I've decided to punish them for their crimes, but then I thought, who is in the best place to determine what happens to these traitors? Who has gone through the most hell at their hands?" He turned to me with a smile. "That's where you come in, Ysera. These women's lives are in your hands." He turned to me. "What would be the punishment for their crimes against you? Whatever you say will be granted, even if you desire their heads on a platter of gold. The ball is in your court." Zadok returned to his seat with a cynic smile. I couldn't tell if this was a trap. I turned to the women, and the ghostly expression on their faces told me one thing. The Alpha meant every single word he uttered, and their lives were in my hands. "Ysera. Come on, Ysera. Tell me what you want." Zadok spoke into my ears. Hiccup. We have been in silence for the past few minutes. My gaze fixated on Athaliah, and the deepest part of me wanted to see her head bloodied on a golden platter. However, I chose to be diplomatic and make good use of the opportunity. Like it or not, I was now a member of this pack, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't change my genetic composition. I was a witch. Whether or not I had powers didn't mean anything to these people who lived the better part of their lives believing witches to be a scourge that needed to be cleansed. Killing these people would only solidify their terrible opinion of me. Zadok's expression was unreadable. He had a glint in his eyes as he watched me, thoroughly enjoying my dilemma. I strongly felt like it was a test, and for some reason I was determined to ace it. "Let them go." I finally spoke, eyes focused on Zadok. "What did you say?" His eyes widened a bit. He didn't expect me to say that. A satisfying feeling settled within me. There's no need to do that. I survived, and that's what matters. I do not intend to soil my hands with blood. I took a glimpse at Athaliah, and I felt pure scorn. No matter how dirty. Athaliah's gaze locked on me. Out of the 3 women, she remained unfazed. One would think she already knew the outcome. I found myself wondering, if I had specifically requested her head, would it truly be granted? Why did I feel like I made a terrible decision? "Are you sure you've made your decision?" Zadok's voice interrupted my thoughts. No doubt, he noticed my clear animosity towards Athaliah. It was hard to forget a face that led you to the brink of death and back. I will not forget. I would return every pain meted out to me in 1,000-fold, but in due time. Positive, I muttered, tearing my gaze away from her mocking face. Zadok remained silent. I could hear his brain work, and I'd kill to know what he was thinking. Ysera might be forgiving, but I am not. He rubbed the nape of his neck. You are no longer in charge of the kitchen, he said to Morgan. You will serve in the kitchen, taking care of the dishes without pay until further notice. Morgan dropped her head in a silent cry. The sound of her head hitting the floor brought waves of pleasure within me. I'd like to see her get around washing those plates. I mean, I'd been there, and she thought it was right to let me go through that without pay. It's only right she does the job with thanks in her heart. Being alive was payment enough, right? You will assist her in her duties, he said, referring to Solel. Since you favor working with her rather than being under my care, I presume you will do just fine living with her too. Alpha, Solel cried. I didn't mean to. I don't want to hear it. His tone was menacing and cold. He turned over to Athaliah. You will no longer continue as my third in command, till further notice. His eyes sifted through the three of them, and he barked, Get out of my sight. I watched the women scramble to their feet as a guard led them out of the room, leaving Azrael on his knees. Get out, Zadok said to the air, and I felt uncomfortable. Was he talking to me or Azrael? Leave, he barked, and my spirit nearly left my body. Azrael got up and walked out the door with visible disappointment. He didn't even spare me a glance and closed the door behind him, leaving me alone with Zadok. I'll be on my way. I stumbled my way around him, wondering if the guard who brought me was outside the door. I wasn't in the mood for any more angry wolves. I just wanted to cuddle up my bed and sleep forever. A large hand held my wrist, and I felt cold air lace my skin. Delicious currents erupt from where our hands meet, pushing sweet shock waves down my spine. What was this feeling any time he touches me? We are not done here, he hissed. I feel his grip tightening around my arm. Who permitted you to leave? A nervous chuckle left my lips. I thought you were in need of some alone time. He gave me a look I couldn't understand. What do you want? He finally asked. My eyes narrowed in confusion. I don't understand. Tell me what you want. He dragged me into his hold, and his arms circled my waist. You want something. That's why you let them go. So tell me already. I could feel his breath in my ears. His masculine body made me come alive in ways I've never been. What do you want? He bit my earlobes, and a shiver left my mouth. My heartbeat increased, and I felt moisture down there. What was he doing to me? Tell me, mi amore. He brushed my ears, and I realized I might have an ear fetish. Something told me he's discovered that way before me. I want to be strong, I said before I could think. He gives me a little space, but his arm remains tightly secured around my waist. Strong? Yes. I tried to walk out of his hold, but he held me in place. Why? His tone told me he was having a hard time trusting me. Old habits die hard. I don't want to be vulnerable to your wolves. I spoke curtly. You already know of the terrible things they are capable of. I took a breath, alongside the fact I'm not as powerful as a witch should be. I need to be stronger. Zadok gauged me for a moment, then proceeded to blow my mind. Your training begins tomorrow. He let me go. I will personally oversee your training to ensure you are able to protect yourself without harming others. He still considered me a threat. I don't know if he was the wisest or stupidest wolf I've encountered. And just to prevent this nonsense from happening again, you will be announced as my guest tomorrow. He walked towards his window and opened it. Cold air wafts into the room. Good night, mi amore. Zadok. My eyes skimmed through the decade-old greenhouse that was Shilhi's workspace. I think it's good that she wants to train, Shilhi remarked, stirring her cauldron pot. God knew what content it was this time around. Why do you say so? Azrael asked from behind me. She poses enough danger, even without powers. Why would she need to train more? I heard the implications of his words, but chose to play dumb. A powerless witch living in a pack of witch-hating wolves. I answered in place of Shilhi. It doesn't take a genius to know why she feels threatened. I watched Shilhi pour little portions of the pot's contents into small bottles. Those were my potions. I understand that, but you already said you would introduce her to the pack as a guest. No one would hurt her after that, Azrael explained. Training her will pose more of a risk to us with her current skill set. If I didn't know you well, I'd think you are scared of her, Azrael. A wry smile was on my face. If it comes to that, I'm confident you'll be able to handle it, and if you're unable, I'll take care of it myself. Azrael's jaws twitched, and I knew he did not appreciate my jab on his ability to properly carry out his duties. I couldn't be bothered. I think it's great she wants to train. Shilly spoke again, grabbing our attention. One thing I hated about Shilly was that she tended to leave her sentences unfinished until we called her out on it. And why do you think so? Azrael asked the million-dollar question. She dropped her spoon and walked closer to us, taking a seat on an empty chair to my right. Ysera is the chosen one, she started, and I resisted the urge to roll my eyes at that. Although it is clear she has no witch powers, we need to be sure. What do you mean? I asked, hating the probability of being deceived yet again by a meager witch. Think about it. A person who has the power to lead us into the dark forest. A powerless witch who has the power to hold the ghost orchid that grows in the dark forest. Nothing about her spells is ordinary. You think she has powers and is hiding it? Azrael said with a growl undertone. I didn't like where this was going. Not exactly. Shilhi opened a book and traced its content. However, I do not entirely rule out that possibility. She looked up at me, and I felt my blood boil. If she was saying this, it meant there was still need to be wary of Ysera. I didn't like the feel of that. There's also a little possibility that she does have powers, but is in the dark about it, alongside a chance she really doesn't have powers. Shilhi shook her head with a tut. That last possibility will be a shame, to be known as such a legendary being, and yet have no power to show for it. How do we verify the extent of her abilities? If her abilities are still lying fallow or somehow hidden within her, I doubt she'd display them to us if we ask peacefully. That was Azrael. Always thinking ahead. That's where the training comes in. An evil glint lit her eyes. What better way to force her powers to play than the training ground? Azrael nodded his head, liking the sound of manipulating the training to uncover whatever secrets she held. My wolf, however, was having a hard time understanding their reasoning. As usual, I shut him off and headed to the table that held a dozen freshly brewed potions. Without a thought, I picked a bottle and gulped its entire contents. I feel their eyes on me, no doubt, wondering the reason for my fluid actions. I owe nobody an explanation. How do we set up the training to discover what we need? I asked, and Shilly began. During the training, we will set up natural tests and see how she reacts to it. I could hear her brain churning. You can handle the physical part of her training, while I incorporate the testing into whatever you have planned out. A win-win if you asked me. Azrael smiled. He loved the sound of a challenge, a new thrill. I did too. You are in charge of her training, I said to Azrael. Both of you can figure out the details while I oversee every once in a while. Perfect, Shilhi said. Sounds good. Azrael nodded, placing a book on the shelves. Great. Any other thing we need to settle? I asked, already up on my feet. Shilhi got up. I sensed her hesitation, and I wondered what she wanted to say. There's but one thing, Alpha. I'm all ears. The mating ceremony. It's fast approaching, and we are the one to host. I felt my wolf stir at her words, and within seconds I felt pain. Irreconcilable pain of yet another mating ceremony without my mate. I believe Azrael can handle it. I spoke in a straight tone, leaving no traces of my inner turmoil. Can't you? Sure. However, this is the 12th mating ceremony in the past 12 years, and you are yet to make an appearance. We've pushed the responsibility of hosting for the longest time, and now everyone is eager to come. Of course they'd be eager to come. It's a night of finding their significant other. I didn't understand why I needed to have this conversation. You will play host to them for the night. Give them some excuse on my whereabouts. I doubt they'd remember me when the fun starts. I turned around, ready to leave when his words stopped me. They are not just here for their mates, Alpha, Azrael said in a serious note. They are here to confirm if the legend is true, and if you truly do not show up, words will spread. And the last thing we need in such a delicate time is to give them a reason to look into us, especially with the appearance of the chosen one. Shilhi sufficed. A large part of me wanted to walk away, act like I always do, and tell them to figure it out. But I couldn't. "What needs to be done?" I said after a long silence. "Remind me at the time and I'll see to it. Anything else?" "Nothing. Other than the fact we need to hasten up in preparing Ysera and getting into the dark forest, everything's good." My jaws tightened. "Great. Ysera, why do we have to go this early?" I walked behind Azrael, trying to meet up to his pace. "Don't think that because you are now a member of the pack, you have permission to idle away," he said without a glance back. "We are disciplined, and in order for you to fit in, you must be disciplined." I wasn't trying to fit in. I sneered behind him. "Zadok, the Alpha said I would be introduced to the pack. It's been 2 days and there's been no word. Forgive me, but I don't feel like getting attacked by your people." Azrael stopped and turned around. "My people?" he asked in an incredulous tone. I stared back at him. Surely, he didn't expect me to refer to them with anything dear, not when they were all after my life. When he realized I wasn't planning on saying anything, he sighed. "Today is your first day of training. Zadok will meet you in between. I have been assigned to oversee your training." He took a long look at me, which unfortunately for you begins in the early hours of the day. "If you're done complaining, let's get going." My mouth opened, but no words came out. Azrael didn't care to see if I had something to say. He walked forward and disappeared into a door by the end of the hallway, leading outside. I took a deep breath and followed him, murmuring all the way. The vast land became quiet the moment I stepped out. Everything ceased and I felt all eyes on me. The pungent smell of sweat and bodily fluids were heavy on the air. "Ahem." Azrael cleared his throat, commanding attention. "This is Ysera." He introduced me, and I was greeted by hostile hisses and snarls. "She will be training with us moving forward." That did it. The wolves broke into a fit of growls and words, communicating how welcomed I was in their midst. I'd kill her before I let her train with us. One of the wolves hollered, and a chorus of agreement filled the air. "A witch training with us? What an insult. She deserves to die for showing her face over here. Let's show her how brutal the bloodhound warriors can be to flimsy witches like her." "I'd like to see you try," a voice said from the door, and the raging crowd silenced. "Alpha." They changed in unison and got on their knees, with heads bowed. Everyone was on their knees, including Azrael, however. I remained standing, rooted to my spot as I watched Zadok walk towards me with a displeased look. His long legs found their way to my side, and I found myself mesmerized by his features. His sharp jaws were clenched, tight, and promising a world of pain to whoever thought it wise to cross him. I looked at his bare chest and rock-hard abs. Years of training and hard work are visible in the hardness of it. So much I want to touch it. It was hard to withhold myself from touching him. Unconsciously, I reached out, and just before I could perpetuate my thoughts, he stopped me with his next words. "Rise." His voice reverberated through me, and I felt a powerful commanding force following it. The effect of his command was instant, forcing the entire people in the training ground up on their feet with a respectful gaze. Gone was the previous hostility and anger towards me. "Who was that?" Zadok asked, and I felt the fear emanate from the crowd. Nobody spoke. Everyone remained tight-lipped, refusing to be the scapegoat. I figured it's about time I made things clear to all. Zadok's hands enclosed around mine, and within a second, I was flush and pressed beside him. "Ysera is my guest," he announced with an alpha tone, leaving no room for rebuttal. "Moving forward, I expect her to be treated as such." He stopped speaking for some time, and I am awfully aware of the closeness between us and where our hands meet. Confused murmurs soon reached my ears, and I remembered we were not alone. Zadok always managed to steal my attention anytime he came close. Suddenly, Zadok let out a short laugh. I felt the vibration of his laugh in my core. "I didn't realize I ruled disrespectful wolves," he muttered, and the murmurs ceased. "It seems like there is a misunderstanding on who the alpha of this pack is. Maybe I'll need to defend my title again," he turned to Azrael. "And him too." Swiftly, he let go of me and pushed me behind him. "Do I need to remind you who is alpha?" he barked, and the wolves went on their knees. I hadn't seen such a clear display of power in my entire life. "No alpha!" they chorused, and I was amazed. "Ysera is officially a part of this pack. If any of you, and I mean anyone, go as far as looking at her the wrong way, blood shall flow. Do you understand? Yes, Alpha. She shall also be joining the training here, Zadok said and stepped beside me. He placed an arm on my shoulder and continued, Azrael shall. Why? A wolf interrupted with a hiss. A cynic smile appeared on Zadok's face. Who was that? He asked, but something told me he knew exactly who it was. The crowd parted and a young, hefty-looking man was revealed. Come forward, Zadok ordered. He hesitated for some time and finally came forward, looking at Zadok square in the eyes. His eyes reverted to me, and I saw the malice and anger behind his orbs. I believe you have something to say, Esau? Zadok smiled. You are free to speak. Thank you, Alpha. He began. His eyes turned fierce and he stared daggers at me. This witch you. Splash! The splatter of his blood stained my face, and I heard the shocked gasps of the crowd before us. I couldn't open my mouth for fear of actually tasting his blood. However, Zadok had no problem with that. He just killed a wolf like it was the easiest thing. I warned against looking at her the wrong way. He tsked like it was something normal. However, everyone's eyes were the size of saucers, including mine. Anyone else have something to say? He asked, and this time no one moved a muscle. Thought so. Ysera. Everyone returned to their places after the little show from Zadok. The remnants of the wolf's body was carried out of the training ground, and decorum returned like it never left. Zadok left for God knows where, and everyone returned to sparring and getting dirty on the ground. Come, Azrael said and led me to the right side of the training ground where there were less people. I wondered what he was planning on teaching me today. For today, I'm going to test your abilities. He gauged me with a look I couldn't understand. Let's see what you're capable of doing. Azrael stepped back with his arms spread wide and a wolfish grin. Come on, let's have it. Show me what you've got. For the first time ever, Azrael seemed comfortable with me. Dare I say, he looked almost happy, like nothing could go wrong and this was his forte. It took a moment before I realized he wanted me to hit him. No, I muttered, refusing to do it. His face lost its smile. Don't act like you don't want to do it. Get to it already, he hissed. I remained unfazed. He took a deep breath and spoke in a much softer tone after a while. We can't know what we need to work on if I don't access what you are capable of, Ysera. My eyes widened. I don't think I've heard him say my name aloud. This has got to be a first. I couldn't tell how that made me feel, but the next thing I did was to throw in a surprise punch. It wasn't so much of a surprise to him seeing he caught it without much of a hassle. It was embarrassing how easily he caught my hand and twisted it over my back. His tone was amused. Is that all you can do? He mocked, and here I was, thinking you have something up your sleeves. I was even looking forward to learning a thing or two. Guess I would be doing all the teaching over here. He shrugged. I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Surely, he couldn't have gotten all that from a single failed attempt to punch him. He was trying to make me miserable, and I'll be damned if I let it happen. Without bothering to humor him, I proceeded to try and get out of his hold. Another useless adventure, if you ask me. With my failure to get out of his ironclad hold, I felt pathetic. My pathetic feelings soon reflected in my refusal to try to get out of his hold. The joints of my arm, which was tightly secured on my back, threatened to give way with the amount of pressure on it. Noticing my lack of participation, Azrael let go of me and I dropped to the ground. Everyone's eyes were on me. Suddenly, I feel exposed, watched. I knew the entire wolf populace were watching, but these eyes felt different, familiar. I looked up from the floor and my eyes stopped in a familiar dark pair. Zadok. He stood at the far end of the training ground, sparring with someone, but his attention solely focused on me. Despite his distracted state, he still managed to effortlessly win the sparring session, cementing his power and mastery. Get up, Azrael said, but I didn't move. I refused to allow myself another round of humiliation. That was all I got from this training session. I figured I'd be better off learning the ancient witch's code or cracking the way to the dark forest. This was a waste of time. I don't have all day, he said again. I could tell he wasn't fond of my decision to disobey him, but I was too bratty to care. Ysera, I'll take it from here, a voice said from behind me, and Azrael swallowed his words. A bare-chested Zadok stood in front of me before I knew it. His hands were placed on his hip, and he wore a look I couldn't pinpoint. "Get up." His tone left no room for refusal. I could hear the command in it, his eyes fixed on my form on the floor, and it dared me to defy him. Deciding to pick my battles, I got up on my feet, nursing my arm joints and stretching them to place. "You requested to be trained." Zadok started. The moment the words left your lips, it became a commitment, a project, both to me and to yourself. My eyebrows twitched. "What do you mean?" "You are a member of this pack, and failure is not an option. You only have one choice, to become strong. So the next time you go at it, I want you to give it your best or die trying." I opened my mouth, but no words came out. He turned to Azriel. "I don't care how long it takes, but she does not leave here until she is less pitiful." With that, Zadok walked away, leaving me and Azriel to it. I couldn't believe my ears. Pitiful? I must have underestimated Zadok when he said that, but Azriel didn't. He made me use him as a punching bag for the next few hours, and I was well on the way to losing consciousness. "Your fist game is sloppy. Makes me wonder how you stabbed Morgan to a near-death condition." Azriel tutted, but I could hear his genuine wonder. He held my hand without a breath and positioned my fist with my thumb wrapped around it. "Go again," he instructed, getting in place. I didn't care. I let go of my fist and held a finger up. "I can't. I'm tired." "No, you're not." He said, "There's still a fight in you. I just need you to find it." My fists were aching, so bad I couldn't feel my fingers. Coupled with my terrible mood, I flared up. "I said I need to rest. Don't you get it? I'm not a werewolf with super abilities. I need to rest." "I don't care. I heard Zadok before I saw him. You will get a reasonable punch on Azriel, or you die trying." I chose to ignore him, which was a bad move on my part, because the next second I was dragged towards him and his fist wrapped my neck. My breathing was harsh, and my eyes connected with his. "Kill me already." I spoke fearlessly. "That was your plan all along, wasn't it? I'll forgive you because you're having a bad day. But make no mistakes, the fact that you are my guest doesn't give you the right to act out," he said, tightening his grip for good measure. I didn't care. My pride was way too wounded to care about what he said. "I don't want this. I don't want your training anymore. I'll figure myself out." "You won't survive with such laughable skills, Ysera. You got lucky with Morgan last time, but I doubt you'll be lucky if there's a next time." He drew closer to me and whispered into my ears, "You are weak, much weaker than I thought." I felt rage eat at me from his choice of words. "Weak, powerless, you need to be stronger." Voices fill my head and buried memories are unearthed. My mind returned to the Celts' coven when I was powerless, helpless, and weak against my mates. I couldn't continue like this. Not here, not when I could get to the forest and prove them wrong. I needed to be strong. I pulled his arm away from my neck with a power I didn't know resided within me and gritted, "You know nothing about me." Zadok. Shilhi, Azriel, and Zadok were seated round a wooden table in the greenhouse. She suddenly became powerful, like she wasn't weak and complaining some seconds ago. Azriel narrated to Shilhi, speaking about the training session with Ysera. She took off his hands like it was nothing. "We can't take that for a fact. Who knows? Perhaps the Alpha didn't use as much strength." Shilhi opined. Her gaze flickered to me, and I answered, "I obviously didn't use as much strength, but I am certain she shouldn't have been able to get out of my hold that easily. I didn't exert much strength, but it was strong enough to hold her." "Maybe your hand slackened a bit during your interactions," Shilhi said with her eyes focused on me. "The Alpha was angry." Azriel said, "From my point of view, he was seconds away from strangling her. He couldn't have slackened his hold in that mind state." It was good he answered her bizarre question, because I doubted my answers will be anything but lethal. "I'll take your word for it," Shilhi said. "However, that's not fact enough to determine if her sudden surge of strength was triggered by her anger or she was playing games all along." "It wasn't a game. I find myself speaking. She was weak, very weak." "If you don't mind, how exactly do you know that, Alpha?" Shilhi's eyes narrowed at me, and I felt uncomfortable. How do I explain that I felt her weakness inside of me? That she was so weak I could feel it deep inside of me? I sensed the weakness of her essence. I managed to say, shifting within my seat, "What essence?" That was Azrael. He adjusted his seat and leaned forward with prompt attention. Pray tell, Alpha, what essence did you feel? Is it the first time you felt her essence, or has this happened before? Noting my reluctance to answer, Shilhi added, Please do not skip any detail, as it could be helpful to determine the extent of the Chosen One's abilities. I let out a deep breath and decided to spill my guts. It was about time anyway. During the training, I felt her weakness with every punch. Before that, I felt her zeal to get through the training, but over time, it waned. Her essence and zeal weakened, alongside her performance. Shilhi's eyes were slightly widened. When you say essence, do you mean a witch's essence? I looked between them. This was where the problem lied. How do I explain that a witch didn't hold a witch's essence, but that of a she-wolf? My hands dug into my pockets and I picked up one of my potions. I've taken a lot more than I should within a short space of time, but who cares? I needed every help I could get since my alpha wolf instinct seems to be misleading. I couldn't afford to be unsure. That was a risk in itself. Alpha? Azrael called, and I heard the concern in his tone. It wasn't a witch's essence. I mumbled after my shot. Then what was it? Shilhi's impatience was visible, this time, much more than usual. A she-wolf. I breathed. Ysera has the essence of a she-wolf. I looked up and caught the open jaws of Azrael. Shilhi, on the other hand, seemed shaken, like she didn't expect me to say that. Has? Azrael asked. You said she has the essence of a wolf, not had. Are you saying all this while she didn't have the essence of a witch? His tone was grave. I could understand his fear, so I put him out of his misery. She didn't always have the essence of a wolf. At first she was a witch. Everything about her said that. What changed? And when did it change? Shilhi asked. Everything changed when she pledged her loyalty to me. Her essence immediately changed. I was thinking it was a mistake on my part and got close to her with every opportunity I got. However, it stays the same, I explained. Ysera somehow has the essence of a she-wolf. How do we explain that? Azrael turned to Shilhi. She still reeks of a witch to me. There's got to be something wrong somewhere. His tone was grotesque. What have we missed? You said it started the moment she pledged allegiance to you. I nodded. Interesting. Azrael got on his feet. We shouldn't be taking this lightly. We are talking about a witch here. What if she has bewitched us to think she is powerless? What if she isn't truly the chosen one? We can't afford to be mistaken on who and what she is capable of, Alpha. I agree. Shilhi got up and walked to a cupboard at the side of the greenhouse. However, we can't make rash declarations out of fear. She opened the cupboard and brought out a fresh stash of potions. There is a logical explanation to this. She lined up the potions in front of me. With the appearance of the chosen one, the curses accelerated. What? Azrael asked incredulously. What are you talking about? I asked, unable to wrap my head around the implications of her words. That means with the appearance of the chosen one, the spell cast on you is working at a heightened rate. The witches made preparations just in case. The plan is to wreck your senses and drive your wolf to insanity. So even if the curse gets broken, it's of no use because he's ruined anyway. Azrael completed the logic, seething and pacing around. What do we do? My blood was boiling, and so was Kier's. I took another bottle of my potion. How wasn't the time to let Kier on rampage? I needed to sustain a clear head. That's 2 in a row, Azrael called out. That can't be good. It's clear that the appearance of the chosen one has shaken up the alpha wolf. I predicted that development and went ahead to prepare a stronger combination for his potions. She pointed to the batch on the table that should carry out the job more efficiently. Thank you, Shilhi, Azrael said, picking them up. You are an asset. I nodded in agreement, battling the urge to take another bottle. And Ysera, I said, and she nodded. It's unclear if her odd strength was triggered by her anger or it was residual all the while. Shilhi said, taking into account that your alpha instincts are under attack with the appearance of the chosen one, we can't make judgment based on your observations. So what do? We will test again. This time around, we need to get her agitated, push her to the limit, and see what happens. I can do that, Azrael said with a smirk. Not you. Shilhi looked at me. We need someone who will replicate what you did, but in a more intense manner. Someone who she hates, Azrael said, catching on. Morgan? He suggested. Shilhi rolled her eyes and tutted, too weak. Athaliah. I breathed and she smiled. Bingo. Ithra. I haven't received a word since the training 2 days ago. When Azriel informed me of our training session this morning, I didn't know how to feel about it. When we passed the training grounds, I got concerned. Where are we going? I asked with a raised eyebrow. Azriel turned back. You will not be training with the others today. I couldn't grasp the meaning behind his words, and I felt my guard build up. What do you mean? The Alpha has instructed you will be training at a different spot moving forward. His tone clipped. I didn't like the sound of that. Where is he? Will he be present? I find myself asking. There was no way I was training without Zadok. If they wanted to kill me, then he should have the decency to do it himself. Not that it is your concern, but he will join us shortly, he answered. Without waiting for a response, he took a route I knew too well. He entered the farm, but I remained rooted to my spot. I couldn't believe my eyes. Beta Azriel. A feminine voice greeted. Good to see you again. I saw Athaliah, and my guard tripled. I couldn't see Zadok in sight. Was this a setup? Azriel soon noticed I wasn't following him. He turned around and saw me rooted to my spot. His gaze alternated between me and Athaliah, and a look of understanding crossed his face. Athaliah will be joining us in training moving forward. He informed me she will. No. My tone was firm, leaving no room for negotiation. There is no way in hell I will be training with her. Athaliah wore a sober look. However, her eyes held an amused glint. I am sorry for everything I did to you, Ithra, she said. Believe it or not, I have paid dearly for my actions against you during my time of ignorance. Athaliah has been reinstated as one of your trainers. She is the best female warrior, and I believe she will be able. I didn't wait to hear Azriel finish his statement. The Alpha said he will oversee my training. Unless he shows up here, there will be no training for me. Now he was pissed. The Alpha will join us in a moment, Ithra. We don't have time for useless arguments. Alpha. Zadok walked past me. The smell of mint and earth filled my nostrils. I see the training is yet to take off, he remarked, looking through the farm. Athaliah got on her knee. Azriel bowed his head. We were about to take off before your arrival, Azriel said. Zadok finally acknowledged me. I heard you say you were not going to train unless I was present, he stated. I swallowed, suddenly at a loss for words. What is there for me to see? His eyes went through my form. It will be an eyesore watching you in your current state. His words hit me like a ton of bricks. Whatever made you think I cared what you thought of me? I fired back, and I heard snarls from Azriel. Watch your tongue. Zadok was oddly calm. Athaliah will handle your training until you are ready to be trained by me. She is the best female warrior and is more suited for the job to make you stronger. I held in a breath. What if I refuse? You can't. Zadok spoke like it was general knowledge. Rest assured that she will not be doing anything funny. He finally acknowledged Athaliah's kneeling state. I don't know if I should be impressed or surprised you are still alive. I am very sorry for my actions, Alpha. I promise not to disappoint your faith in me this time around. I rolled my eyes at Athaliah's blatant attempt to kiss Zadok's ass. Had you not given me this opportunity, I would have been rogue's meat, she added. I see. Zadok walked back to me, and in a whisper he said, This will be the last time you disrespect the beta of this pack. You are to obey and regard his words as you would me. His eyes turned grave. Failure will make you have yourself to blame. After that, he straightened up and took a few steps away from me. I shall be back. He said to no one in particular, and I saw Azriel nod. Zadok left the farm, leaving me with Athaliah, who got up with a triumphal smile. Azriel cleared his throat and finally started. Last time I noticed you need much work on your fist game. Thankfully, Athaliah here is the best at that. Cue and a smile from Athaliah. I will let her do what she knows best. Athaliah moved forward, standing tall and holding a bitchy smile. I knew I was in for trouble with her appearance. She shared a look with Azriel, and my thoughts are confirmed. I'll be around. Azriel disappeared into the farm, and I made a mental note to check out the greenhouse. But first, I needed to survive. My body turned rigid as I got into a stance. Other than the fact I got disgraced at the last training, I learned a few tricks, which I planned to deploy if it came to that. Today, we will be working on your offense, using our fists, of course. She said, I want you to understand that you are a part of this pack, and everything I do in this training is what it is. Training. I swallowed, then nodded. I'm ready. Good, she remarked with an evil glint in her eyes. But first, let's see just how far you can go. I didn't have enough time to process the implications of her words. The next thing I knew, I was thrown back by a solid punch in the face that left me shattered and bleeding. First lesson, in a fist fight, your offense must be as good as your defense, she said with a smirk,